Good old Kojak. Oh, hi. Hi, everybody. I'm Jake Allen from Jake Allen Movie Reviews. And in case you are new to my channel, I just want you to know I review movies, I talk about TV shows, and sometimes I bring up video games. And for all of you that are aware of my channel, you probably already know that. But what you probably don't know is that I am also a book reader. And one of my favorite writers of all time is the one and only master of horror, Stephen King. Now, I have almost absolutely everything of Stephen King. I have everything from Carrie, Salem's Lot, The Shining, The Stand, Misery, Christine. I have almost all of his books. I probably wasted like $400 on just his books alone. So you can tell I'm a really big Stephen King fan. Well, what a lot of book readers that are huge Stephen King fans as well, they can say that The Stand is by far his magnum opus. And for me, yeah, the book is amazing. It's excellent. It may not be one of my favorite Stephen King books, but it is definitely up there. Top three, top five, top three at best. But right now, I'm not going to talk about the book. Instead, I'm going to talk about the 1994 miniseries of the same name. Now, when it comes to miniseries, you can look at this and say, yeah, it was good. Except it didn't really have to be good. And that's the great thing about The Stand, is that there are so many details in this book that you cannot fit it all in one movie. Yeah, the first time I ever read The Stand, it was the first 1,000-page book that I have ever read from cover to cover, and it was the best 27 hours that I could really think of. It was worth it. But even then, I was thinking to myself, yeah, there is no way you could fit this in a 3-hour movie. It's impossible. And for me, when I was reading it, it's just like the TV show. I was going, okay, okay, okay. So I'll just read to this part and then suddenly I'll stop. I'll catch a break. But then it leads on to another thing where I'm like, yeah, I want to read what happens to these characters. I got to know what happens next. And that's the great thing about The Stand. It's got the same type of writing style as The Lord of the Rings did, where you don't have just one main character, you have several main characters going through this world. And as much as you think that the story would evolve around one thing, it ends up leading into something else and something a whole lot bigger, something that makes it a whole lot more enjoyable. Well, like I said, people look at this story as Stephen King's magnum opus. But either way, I'm here to talk about the show. So let's get into it. I'm going to talk about this miniseries by each episode because there is so much you want to talk about in each and every one of these episodes because all the episodes do feel like different movies for say. Like for example, the very first one, the plague. Now, I really hope I don't get flagged for talking about a pandemic, but hey, here we go. So the stand starts off in this medical facility, and suddenly alarms go off, and everybody is panicking. You can see on the screen, everyone's just ramming on this door, trying to get out. They're screaming a bug just got loose, and the security guard has to close the gates. Instead, the security guard goes back to his home and collects his family. And the way they shoot this scene is absolutely brilliant. The camera follows him through his back door. He grabs his child, his wife. They grab a couple of things and they head to the car. It's all in one shot, which really captures the panic in the whole situation. And then it leads to him escaping the place, and they zoom into his office again to the same screen where you see all those panicking people. When you see them again, they're all dead, and that alone is terrifying in as it is because this is a medical facility and a bug just got loose and that's why everybody was panicking and they died within seconds and the opening credits just adds on to that level of brilliance of filmmaking because it starts off in the lab, people are dead on the spot, then it moves to the offices and everyone's just dead in their chairs, and then you go to the break room, and in the break room you see this guy leaning on a table, and then you see this a couple of people ordering food. They're on the ground or on the counter, and you also see this person who was playing a game on well, he might have been playing Pac-Man or whatever in just the side. So in other words, this bug is so deadly that they all died within seconds. To have a disease that can move that fast, yeah, that is horrifying. But anyway, this family makes it all the way across country to Arlington, Texas. Sadly, they they got this virus, and now Arlington is under government control. And the way they start this off is what I can say is a whole lot of fun. Like I said, this is the first 7 minutes of the show, and immediately you're like, yeah, I'm hooked. I just got to know what is going on, what is happening next. But when we get to Arlington, we are introduced to Stu Redmayne, aka Gary Sinise. And Gary Sinise has got to be the best Stu ever. I don't care if they remake the show a dozen times. Gary Sinise will always be the best Stu. And but anyway, government soldiers come in. They collect the people that have probably contracted the virus. It's the flu. It's a flu virus. But this flu virus is not exactly the one that we are really used to. No, this one has a kill rate of 99%. So it is insanely deadly. And the way they play off the this virus is pretty good because you start off like couple of coughs or a sneeze. Remember the time when somebody would cough and you would get terrified? Yeah, this show would bring it right back. This It's horrifying. But then you start getting the flu-like symptoms, and it's pretty basic. Then you get to the third stage, and the third stage is where this virus really gets worse because you can see they're all sweaty and they're all gross. You can see they're getting spots on them, and you can see how fast that this virus can be insanely deadly. And whoever did the makeup in the show, brilliant. Seriously, you just see all these people get to the final stage, and you're just thinking they are in terrible condition. This is horrible to look at. But when these people are being taken away, they are taken to Vermont to a medical facility up there. And right here just brings another scary element that Stephen King is really famous for. Instead of, injecting blood and trying to find something that can fight this virus to save these people's lives. Instead, these top scientists are just standing there watching these people die, just watching the stages of the virus kill the human body. That's horrifying. However, there is one person that I think the show said he was tested positive, but he is showing no signs of it. In fact, he looks perfectly healthy, and that is Stu. Stu is just sitting on his bed and just reading a book. And you're just thinking, okay, this is starting to get interesting. But like I said, The Stand is also famous for introducing a whole bunch of characters, a bunch of main characters. One of them being Larry Underwood. Larry Underwood is a famous singer. He is going to visit his mother after his album "Baby Can You Dig Your Man" has reached #1 on the charts. And basically, the song is played several times in this episode. So, granted, it is a real song, and that is cool that they managed to make it real. But anyway, he is visiting his mother. He's in a little bit of trouble money wise. Singers and actors, they always get into those problems. So she kind of scolds him for that. But we're also introduced to another character named Franny, who is played by Molly Ringwald. And I'm just okay, Molly Ringwald. What the heck happened to her? I mean, she used to be the biggest star back in the '80s, and this is probably the last big thing that she's ever been in possibly 30 years. Where has she been this whole time? She's still alive, so where has she been? But anyway, she's living with her father now because she and her ex just got into a very bad breakup, and well, I guess you can tell now that they broke up, and she's now living with her father. We're also introduced to the nerdy kid of the show, Harold, who has a crush on Franny, but she doesn't see him in that type of way. She just kind of sees him as a friend. Nice way to put a guy into a friend zone, but hey, what can you do? But also we're introduced to another character named Nick Andros. Nick Andros is played by Rob Lowe, and the very first time you ever introduced to Nick, he's being attacked by a bunch of these guys that are yelling, screaming right behind him to attack him. And I'm just sitting there going, dude, why are you not turning around? I mean, you could clearly hear them. They are like 5 feet behind you. And then you find out that he is a deaf mute. He cannot speak and he cannot hear. But in this moment, after he gets knocked out, he goes into a dream where he runs into an old black woman who is 106 years old, and she still looks like she's healthy. She's still living on her own. She's still cooking by herself. She's all these types of things. And this is Mother Abigail. Mother Abigail is the religious person in the entire story. And as soon as a religious person who has a connection to God came into the story, I'm just thinking to myself, oh boy, here we go. Stephen King, I know how these characters go. I mean, if you look at the mother from Carrie or that crazy girl from the movie The Mist, you know that whenever a highly religious person comes into a Stephen King story, it doesn't always go well. And as a matter of fact, they are crazy. But no, Mother Abigail is a very nice person. You really do like her the first time you're introduced to her. But in this scene in particular, we're introduced to another character that is the evil side. As Mother Abigail is the follower of God, you also have the follower of the devil, Randall Flagg. Randall Flagg is the best villain in Stephen King history. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, he's better than Jack Torrance. He's better than Pennywise. He is the absolute best. And in the very first episode, you don't even see his face. You just see like a silhouette or just a scarecrow or just a monster. And whenever he's a silhouette, he has glowing red eyes. He just screams non-human. And I will explain a lot more about him in later episodes, but in this one, you don't see his face. You just see the monster on the side because these people who are immune to this virus are starting to get dreams of Mother Abigail and what they call the Dark Man. They don't call him Randall Flagg until later on in the show or in the book. But another thing I gotta talk about, and that is the escalation of the plague. I mean, at the very beginning, there's the government trying to get a hold of it. They're trying to cover it up. They're trying to tell everybody that this virus does not exist. But when more people start dying, that's going to be a little bit hard to cover up because now people are getting upset. They're starting to panic. They're starting to riot. They're starting to kill everybody. They're starting to burn the whole place down. And immediately I'm thinking, sounds very familiar, doesn't it? I mean, I'm not going to make that big comparison because this flu virus has a 99% kill rate, and the COVID-19 pandemic was a whole lot different. But still, though, you can see the similarities. And quite frankly, when the pandemic started, people start saying that this book predicted the predicted the pandemic. It's a good thing it didn't have the same outcome. I will say that. But either way, the way it moves, you're just thinking to yourself, okay, this is getting kind of horrifying. It's getting pretty bad. Maybe I'll just finish up this episode and I can take a wild break. But it does the same thing as I felt when I read the book, The Stand, is that once when it gets to that one spot where you have that sigh of relief, it just tells you that it's going to move on to another thing, and you're like, okay, I want to know what happens next. I want to know what happens next. It has that flow to the very next episode. So I applaud the show for that. And the makeup department, like I said, there's a reason why this show won the Emmy for best makeup because that makeup looked looked great just for a small miniseries. And for a very beginning, it is definitely one to watch. I mean, the camera work is excellent, the acting is incredible, the makeup department is excellent. I mean, everything about that just got me a whole lot more excited to watch the very next episode. So guys, The Stand Part 1, The Plague. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? If I missed anything, comment them down below, and I'll see you in the next video.